since we're not going to get a chance to sort of look at any other teams, I think we just jump through and sort of we're 4 games in, or about a quarter or a third of the way through the season. So probably a good chance to take a bit of a stock take, reassess pre-season predictions, because I know there's 1 or 2 I'd certainly like to take back. So it'll give me a chance to jump off the Highlanders bandwagon and maybe
a
couple of other things. But we'll start there, shall we? We'll start at the bottom of the table, New Zealand franchise-wise, and move up. The Highlanders, obviously, dark days down south. Got run over by the Blues in the second half. Shout out to the TMO, just ruining my 13+ bet. Like, everyone just wanted to go home at that stage. But that was the 4th loss in a row for the Highlanders. They're now sitting right down the bottom of the table there, I think only on 1 competition point. It's, they were scheduled to play Moana Pacifica this week, but that's not going to happen. I've got written down here, at least it can't get any worse. Is that where things stand for the Southerners?
No, it can get worse.
Can it?
Yeah. They could start losing to Australian sides as well.
Wow.
That would be worse.
I'm supposed to be the negative one on this podcast.
I'm just trying to look at it. Look, they just don't have the squad to match it with at least the other New Zealand-based Super Rugby franchises. So it's a tough sort of early going for them. I'm sure they'll pick up a few wins once we start playing the Australian franchises, but if you have a look at them, they've got the odd very, very good player here and there at halfback. Frizzell, he's
Garden Bishop, I think, has been a bright spot.
And Umaga Jensen in the back line as well. But they just haven't been able to put a full 80 minutes together, and I think it's because they do rely just a wee bit too much on players like Smith and Frizzell. So although there are a couple of younger ones who are starting to step up, it just hasn't been enough. I think if you look at the Canes, there's in a similar sort of vein. They've got a couple of players that they rely heavily on. They actually have a few more that they can rely on, but at the moment they're relying on Geordie and Savere. But they've had other younger players that have come through. So I know we're going to talk about the Canes soon. The problem is with the Highlanders, they haven't had enough of those younger players, I think, stand up and come through. So, it's a bit of a waiting game for them for another season. Yeah, they're almost like this is our year.
No, that was yesterday. You had your chance. Not going to let you get sucked into that. Who we talked about sort of players who need to step up there, Richard. Is there anyone you've got your eye on or you think can sort of step into a role and make a difference as we get towards the business end of the season for the Highlanders?
Well, the obvious choice is Aaron Smith and Jennifer Frizzell. Those 2 players they're kind of senior All Blacks in the squad, and they're probably. I sort of originally thought Smith's been a bit below par, but I sort of just was looking back in his performances, he hasn't actually been playing badly, but just not able to get so the 4-pack's just not getting that ball for him. They probably need a bit more from Mitch Hunt as well. That if that 19 can sort of join up a bit better and get behind some good ball, then that's probably where they're heading. I had circled those 2 backs, Umaga Jensen and Garden Bishop, is just people have impressed, and what's been a pretty sad sort of year for them so far. They've played well. I've just having a look at what they've got to come, and when they're playing the Australian teams, and they've got to go over there and play against both the Drua and Reds. So that Reds game in particular, that'll be a real sort of worry for them. And Drua, who knows what can happen? How good are the Drua?
That's another subject we'll get onto later. But just back to Aaron Smith. Don't worry, I did hear you say no man or 2 players had stand-up performances last week on the podcast, so that was noted down in my personal notes. But we'll get to that section later on. Yeah, Mitch Hunt was the one I sort of had circled. They clearly picked him over Joshua Ioane. They see him as their first choice 10. They don't have a lot of depth at that position.
He's had moments.
He was good in the Crusaders game, I thought. But he's not. running games like he has, and I think particularly with ball in hand, he's maybe sitting back and trying to use his boot a bit more and maybe manage games where he really needs to be taking on the line. Like, he does have that running game, so I think maybe that'll help give their midfielders and outside backs a bit more momentum to start breaking the game line, which is where they've really struggled. They've just, outside of Irving and Jensen, had no real cut and thrust in that sort of midfield area.
No, well, him and Smith set the tempo for that back line. And to be fair to them both, they had been behind a pack that has struggled at times.
Oh, yeah.
So if your pack's going forward and getting you across the advantage line, then it sets everything else up for the rest of the back line. But yeah, I think Hunt, although he has looked good in patches, hasn't been playing at a high enough level consistently to say, yeah, we picked the right guy. I'm not saying he's not the right guy, but just from what we've seen so far this season, just need a wee bit more from him. And I guess we've seen the likes of Mwanga sort of, even behind a pack that has struggled at times, still be able to create opportunities for the rest of the back line. And I guess we're just looking for Hunt to be able to do something. It doesn't have to be to the same level, but to actually be able to do something for those outside backs, because as we've already pointed out, they do have some very good young backs in that back line.
Yeah, no, I think if he can just start injecting themselves in different areas, maybe taking a bit of pressure off, shifting defenses around, that'll certainly help. But yeah, they do have some. At least they've got promising young. It's not like it's an over the hill team where they're sort of going, oh geez, this could get ugly. I think they're only going to get better. It's been a tough 4 weeks, but yeah, they're certainly stacked with youth and talent for sure. And
Smith has been patchy as well at times. And then they had that game where Whakatawa started, and that wasn't his best game. To be fair, he struggled. So I guess that sort of then sort of flows out along the back line from the 9. So Hunt, he does have a few excuses there, but it would be good to see him really start playing at a consistently high level.
And just on the Highlanders, before we move up north, are we all worried about them maybe missing the top 8 yet? They're currently 6 points behind the Force on the ladder. Obviously, they've got 4 tough games out of the road already playing the other existing New Zealand franchises. But, when it gets to the stage, you don't want to be playing catch up. I think a lot of the New Zealand franchise would have been hoping to rest a few players or do a bit of rotation once we get to the crossover portion of the season. Is that a concern for you yet, Richard, do you think?
Well, as I sort of said before, they've got a couple of hard games to go over to Australia, play against the Drua and the Reds, and then they've got the Brumbies, Force and Waratahs at home, and the Rebels away, but the Rebels are the Rebels. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, they'll have to really step up, eh? I've been, I don't know, it's hard to sort of gauge how impressed I've been with the Australian teams when they've just been playing against each other. So it's interesting when, these cross games happen and see whether they're going to, I think we said that we thought the Australian teams would get about 4 wins between them, I think. I seem to recall.
I think you said 4, I think the rest of us said 2.
I think maybe it was when Fiskey was on, and Fiskey had me back as well. So they would be. I saw that Tony Brown sort of said, we're not even talking about it yet, which is probably what they should be doing. They just need to focus on sort of getting a couple of wins on the board, hopefully in the next sort of 4 weeks against the New Zealand teams, and then go from there. But I'd be a little bit worried.
The bookies have them $1.16 to reach the quarterfinals, which
ridiculous. Way too
to me seems, it's too short. But I'd still have them better than even money. I think they are going to get that. They've got the 2 minor Pacific games to come as well, so you'd hope they could win those. Although I was certainly pretty keen to dive into the plus when I saw the lines go up for the original fixtures this weekend. The bookies apparently haven't been watching rugby for the last 2 weeks though, because the Fiji and Drua are $21 to make the quarterfinals. So pause your podcast, go and get on that, and then
hopefully we'll still have a job after that. Patrick's going to put on.
Yeah. No, but I presume you wouldn't be taking the $1.16 pool. That's probably a bit too wide for your value bet.
Yeah, it may slot into me roughy column one day.
Right. Now, I'd be shocked if they don't make it. But yeah, another loss that you don't see coming. You trip up against Australian team, things start to get a bit concerning.
The problem is they don't have the depth to. If they do start resting, then they really do. Their output goes down quite considerably. So I don't think they can afford to rest. If they're going to rest players, they might as well rest them against the New Zealand franchises and then have their top team play against all the Australian franchises.
It's almost like you target the two minor Pacifica games and then maybe the other
the Rebels,
off, and then we're going to have to run the table against Australia anyway. So that might be the way things do go. But we can be a bit more positive now. I think the New Zealand team above the Highlanders in the standings, your beloved Hurricanes, Paul Moati. Two wins, one loss. Like I think if we'd said to each other before the season they were going to go 2-1 to start the year,
we'll take it.
You'd take it?
100% take it.
You, Richard, you're on the same page there?
Yeah, especially considering that the Crusaders and Blues win in those 3 games. They'd definitely take it.
The Crusaders game, there was actually some positives as well, given it was so early in the season. They were pretty competitive for probably 55, 60 minutes. So that was just really the first 20 or so of the second half. The Crusaders ran over the top of them. So, yeah, I think you've got to be pretty, and same sort of thing as with the Highlanders. There's some promising youngsters there who've shown they maybe can do what they need to at Super Rugby level, particularly I hope Caleb Delaney against the Highlanders. Obviously, the tight five's been an issue, shall we say, for the Hurricanes.
I thought Delaney was huge. He certainly deserves another start. He's a player on the up.
Also, Sangster, who played, I think he was the lock in the other 2 games. I thought he was really good as well.
Still got Owen Franks to come back as well. Like that's one of those things with these COVID disruptions.
Dane Coles?
Yeah, Dane Cole. Yeah,
does he play?
Are they resting him for the Island series? But no, they are going to get a few cattle backs. Or TJ was going to be back this week by the sound of things. So yeah, I think that's another one though. I was looking at the odds and they're $1.45 to reach the semi-finals, which seems short once again to me in the outrights. I just think they're probably realistically the Crusaders, Chiefs, and Blues are going to be filling those top 3 positions on the ladder.
And then it's a bit of a toss-up. What are the Reds paying?
$2.
Yeah, that interests me.
Brumbies paying?
Yeah, those two.
Don't mind that.
More, yeah.
Don't mind Brumbies at all.
Later, but yeah, very interesting game on Friday night coming up from Canberra.
Braden Yossi. He's been very, very good off the bench.
2 players didn't have good performances last week.
Is he 2 as well?
Of course he is.
You've shouted that a couple of times. I don't think you've mentioned that. It all makes sense now.
Are you just talking about yourself now, good Norths boy?
Learned his craft at Norths.
Anyway, moving on to the Crusaders before Paul gets too out of control here. We sort of talked about the Hurricanes 2-1 as a pass mark. The Crusaders are 3-1. Obviously, just that one loss to the Chiefs there, but I don't think we've seen their anything close to their best, right?
No, we haven't. And that's a scary thing.
Yeah.
They're 3-1, and only just 3-1.
Should be 4-0.
Would have been, well, poor old Rishi. They're 3-1, and they haven't played at their best. So
they might not even know their best team yet. Like Pablo Matera is still sort of
finding his way in the New Zealand sort of style, I guess.
Jack Goodhue is another one who coming back from injury. They're going to get back sooner rather than later. I think he's due back around Easter. So
Cody Taylor only came back. His first game last week. I think he came off the bench the week before. I thought he was really good.
Scored about 3 minutes after making his stepping on the Super the season, right? Yeah.
Paul was on.
Yeah, no, I was like, we sort of hinted around it before, but before the season, the 3 of us, we're all Crusaders over the field. They're 250 in the outright market right now. They haven't moved too much. Is anyone jumping off that Crusaders position from before the season?
Not me. Nope.
Nah. Was that about the same price they were? Sorry, when we.
Yeah, were they 270 before the season or something?
They've shortened slightly.
Yeah. I mean, as you say, we haven't seen the best of them, and they probably should be here 4-0. I was on the Crusaders 11-20, and it was looking pretty good for about 25 minutes there. But they obviously been able to hold on, and then they blew it in the end. But yeah,
I was on the head, so that looked pretty good at the end.
Be very happy with that. Still happy to take that, and I'll probably still take Chiefs Crusaders. Oh, definitely still take Chiefs Crusaders final. $4.50, I think it's paying.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty happy to stick with that one as well. The loss up at Eden Park, not super concerning I just really like the way the Chiefs are controlling games. I know we're saying we haven't seen the best out of the Chiefs, but I thought, you sort of watching that game back, knowing the result, they actually probably had more try scoring opportunities than the Crusaders overall. The Crusaders, obviously the first try, it's came from a bit of a weird set piece movement. Maybe even Blackadder should have been penalised for the tackle on Sokula. But then the Chiefs, Sokula was held up. There was a couple other moments they had. I think it was pretty much.
And
it was
Brent Hall intercept as well, and then Gatlin.
Yeah. There was it was a boxing fight. It was probably 7 rounds to 5, one way or the other, maybe in 6 each. So I think.
And they did it without their starting 9 and 10 as well. They're without Weber and Ioane. So good signs for the Chiefs.
Got to and if they can, the Crusaders have to go up there. If they can get a home final or have home advantage for if they do meeting again in the knockouts, that's only going to help them. So hopefully we could end up with another rematch of those classic games from 2012 and 2013, was it, when the Chiefs were their best? But this is not the Chiefs segment. Got to touch on the Blues, of course. That was a weird 80 minutes of rugby, or 92 or whatever it ended up being.
89,
It was a stressful one.
Yeah.
A very stressful one for those of us on the Blues 1 to 12
and 13 plus.
And plus 11.5.
Yeah, no, it was all over the place. The Blues, I don't really know what to say, but they were great for 73 minutes against the Hurricanes. They were sort of sleepwalk through most of that Chiefs game. Certainly sleepwalk through the first half of the Highlanders game, although they did have excuses with the COVID situation. Bodie's barely played. Tuivasa Sheik's now out injured. Dalton Papali'i still working his way back to full fitness. And Noah Kiriuani. I think if we were grading them, we'd probably have to give them an incomplete so far.
What's like a C plus?
Yeah.
Is that sort of where we're looking? I think so.
I think the thing with the Blues is we've at least seen they do have that upside, like that. The way their pack performed against the Hurricanes in particular, we've seen what they are capable of. It's just, as is also Blues, can they do it consistently, and can they do it when it really matters, i.e. when they're facing a team that wears red and black and has mauled their set piece the last couple of seasons.
That's the big test for them.
Yeah, no, I was very keen. That was another game I was pretty keen to load up on the Crusaders minus a not massive start if they were playing each other this weekend. So, What about you, Richard?
I think they'd definitely be a pass, but not overly convincing. I think I kind of get where you come from with incomplete, being that we haven't sort of seen their starting 15. We were very excited to see that backline, and the backline's shown some real potential. But to see Bodie and Tuivasa Sheik in there in the 10 and 12 will be nice to see. But they'll sort of, there's definitely some positives to take for them. I think a couple of the forwards have been great. Eklund's been incredible basically every game. I think he's been having a great season
as well.
Yeah,
I was concerned about their locking department, so to see him do what he's done, that's something at least.
Adam Silver as well.
Perifetta.
Yeah.
Mark Lee is another one as well. I was giving his jersey to Ratamai Tavuki Netkins before the season, and he's put that.
He's been huge. Yeah.
No, I think they've certainly got the upside, but I just think with the way the Chiefs have started the season, if maybe they were the de facto second in the power rankings behind the Crusaders, I think the Chiefs have probably taken that spot despite actually losing to them. So that's
I'll be with you there.